The hope is if you put enough information in front of them, then it'll be enough to jostle them. But with social media and stuff, it's almost impossible. That's why I don't get in online debates, because you're not changing anyone's mind through a screen. First of all, it's hard enough to do it in person. And so if you add in the element of talking in between stuff, and now you have people that's on the outside looking into the conversation that's being displayed, and now you have someone, getting a like, even though they're completely wrong on something, that's just going to empower that person to keep on going. So it's no point. But I mean, it's logical failures all over the place. I mean, we had a county-wide election right before this presidential election, and you had sub 25% show up and vote. But then for the presidential election, you had closer to 80% of people come and vote. Well, you can't say voting matters all the time is the most patriotic thing you can do if we ain't even hit 25% right before the presidential election. So someone got to be lying.
Welcome world, welcome family to another episode of the EL2A podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Gilmore Jr. To right me, you got Mr. Military Man, Mr. Miles McConaughey. How you feeling today, brother?
Feeling pretty good today.
I love it, man. We off the brinks of Veterans Day too, man. So how you feeling coming off Veterans Day?
It was a good day. The whole weekend leading up, there's a lot of events going on, so pretty busy hitting all the ones that were, active throughout the entirety. I mean, even today there was a veteran event over at Marriage to Rich. So it was just good seeing veterans coming out, helping one another, and then obviously our community, embracing us.
Yeah, as a veteran, do you feel you hear a lot of the negative stories, but as a veteran that's I guess interest itself into doing the work, do you feel as if our community, speaking for the veteran community, wraps their arm around the veteran community?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. We have a large veteran community here in Marion County, so it's kind of hard not to interact with a veteran, even directly or indirectly, or you may not know that a person is a veteran, but there's a high chance that they are. So a lot of the business leaders here locally, a lot of restaurateurs, a lot of those folks have a background in serving their country.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. The Rocket, High 7 Hills. We got Mr. Eddie Rock. How you feeling today, bro?
I'm all right, bro. All in red. Real good.
Yeah, man. We came, and this was not planned. If you guys do not know, this was not planned, but we came color coordinated today. So looking good, man. But I'm doing great as well. They didn't ask me, but I'm doing great as well. Coming off the brinks of the election, man. One thing I was thinking about in this time. Well, first of all, like, subscribe, and comment. If you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. It means a lot when we get your likes on our podcast, man. We're coming up here to give you the game, the guidance, attention, motivation, education. Just take a second to like this video and as well subscribe to our channel. It's going to mean a lot to us, all right? But getting to what I was just saying, coming off the brinks of the election, man, it had me thinking. During the election times, there's a lot of noise going around. Obviously, we talked about it. If you haven't, go back to our last couple of episodes. We touched on election because that was what was going on at the time. And we talked about it a lot. There was a lot of emotion going around. A lot of people, responding to different rhetoric, that social media posts and just different things that were going on that were making people respond and just make it back and forth. There seemed like there was no logical thinking going on. And it had me come up to the conversation when I wanted to talk about emotion and logic. I want to ask you guys a question. All right. And we're going to do something real quick. Both of you guys, I'm going to ask you a question. And it's not even a question. I'm going to say something to you guys. And you're going to, if you would still do the thing that I'm going to say, you will raise your hand. If you wouldn't do it, keep your hand down. And I need your immediate response, reaction of what you'll do. All right. So y'all get what I'm asking you to do. Raise your hand if you still would do it. If not, keep your hand down, but I need immediate. All right. So in a scenario, you're a businessman, right? And this contract that you've been trying to get, you've been working for this contract to get this contract for maybe 10 years. This contract is going to set you up for financial freedom, put your kids in private school, be able to, everything you've just been working for the business, for the family, it's within this contract. You go to the contract signing and you get ready to sign the contract. The person who puts the contract in front of you starts talking crazy about your mom. Say it's the craziest thing ever, like the most craziest thing you could ever think about your mom, but still puts a contract in front of you. Do you sign it? All right, so I like that. So we got one sign and one don't. So you say you will sign. Tell me why you still sign that contract.
It's about business.
Okay, just a little more into it. So about business. So what? So he talked about your mom.
You say
He
I'm
degraded,
signing.
he downgraded you, but you're saying it's about business. So
He didn't. Am I doing business with him, or is it just a contract that he put in front of me? So I'm going to the table and it's just, all right, I'm about to. You ain't explain the contract.
yeah, that wasn't just from what I gave you. Just
So I mean, it's about this business. You ain't, after I sign, watch your mouth. But at this point, it's about business.
okay. You did. So you didn't raise your hand. Why didn't you raise your hand?
For me, I get what he's saying about it being business, but for me, all money not good money. And so I base it off the character, because the character that's trying to give me that money, that's what's going to really lay out how big of a headache that person is going to be going forward. And if you're going to try to lay a contract out, but you're going to disrespect someone like my mother, I can't really go for that, because morally there's something obviously messed up with that person that you even do that in a business setting. That's not a good business. So for me, that's the angle I'm coming with it. It's like, nah, that's not good business practices at all. And if you willing to go that far, disrespect someone's mom in front of them, no, I can't deal with you.
Okay. So do you guys think, and I say this for a reason, do you guys think that was, so your response, and even as you went into it, sounds more of a logical response. Do you think yours was maybe logic or emotion when you made, was it built off logic or built off emotion, decision made?
That's just logic. I mean, we teach our boys that they don't touch your mom, because what are we doing? And I mean, and devil's advocate at the same time. What if that was they could have been saying that just to see how your response is going to be. You know what I'm saying? Just to see, like, okay, hey, can I trust you in a heated moment? Are you going to make a business decision?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Again, that's why I say you ain't going to it. But I understand what you're saying. But I'm just, hey, at the end of the day, I don't think a person that have enough sense would in a business setting. I mean, I don't think. I don't see that. I do get, the content, the reason by asking the question. But again, I just feel like, that's the logic.
Yeah, no. So going into discussion I'm talking about. So the difference between motion and logic, man. Well, it's tricky right now. We get into this time now, and when you're dealing with people, like how I put that in front of you, and now you get to thinking about it, like, dang, was that emotional? Was that a logical response? I was having a conversation, and we were talking about, so the election, when we talk about, so online, you had people that were saying they were voting for Trump because of the prices of bread and milk were going up. Okay, if you sit and think about that, I mean, at some point that can be a logical response to someone. But to others, that sounds like, bro, there's something called inflation, permanent inflation. Things are going to go up over time, no matter what.
Yeah.
For you to make a decision on who's going to run the world off bread and milk, to me, that I don't think that's the best way to be looking at things. We talk about it all the time. We talk about policies on here. So when I put things in front of you, and then it goes into perspective, it goes into all those different things. And then it just, so even as the conversation went on, I started even thinking about, so emotions. Let's just get into emotions right now. The day that we live in right now, bro, when it comes to emotions, even man, I want to get to man. I never seen the more emotional man in the world. It was one point of time when you would always say men are logical, women emotion. That's switched. That ain't what it is no more, bro. We got so many emotional men, and we have people making decisions. And I think it goes back to how the day and age that we live in. We live in a cupcake era. We live in an era to where people are telling you your emotions matter, which they do, but we're going over our legs to tell people that their emotions matter. And then we're giving people the avenue to be able to say they can feel how they want to feel, identify how they want to. It's all types of just things that are going on to allow a flood of emotions to be going out. My question to you all, when I go into this debate, what do you think this merge of emotional response is coming from? What do you think the subject? What do you think and is it a good thing? Is it a good thing that we're at this point to where emotions have ran wild?
No, it's not a good thing. And the reason why you see a lot of it coming out nowadays is because a lot of people don't like to address the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that empathy has been weaponized. And what I mean by that is it's one thing to call for people to be more aware of the differences in how people choose to live their lives, and how they think and how they move. That's all fine and dandy. But when you allow people to say, well, it's how I feel, and it becomes so supercharged to the fact that a person's feeling can trump reality and logic, now you creating you're setting a bad precedent out there, because now people may take fault in how I word this, but it is what it is. When you give the weakest part of the demographic the power, you now have to play by the rules of those that are in, at least in the moment, weak or in a weakened state, because their emotional stance. They're not thinking clearly, they're not thinking objectively. And so when you allow it to just be, well, this is how I feel, and the louder they get, now you can start applying labels to people that refuse to listen to them, or to listen the way that they want you to, or respond the way that you want you to. So if you don't respond a certain way, now you get labeled a bigot, you get labeled this, you get labeled that. And that title being applied to you, that label being applied to you, is a coercive tactic, because if you don't go with the herd or what's being said at the moment, now you get labeled something foul, and in business, that's a detriment. So now it's harming your business, and people can say, well, I didn't harm your business, you made it. No, you did. You just trying to find that loophole and that plausible deniability to say, oh, I didn't ruin your business. No, but you didn't respect my autonomy to say, well, this is how I stand, this is how I run my business. And that's fine if you have a different opinion, but your feelings don't trump the logic. It doesn't trump the objective truth here. And so when you give people that free reign, now it's a free for all. Now, like you said, everything's subjective. It's how that person feels, and you can't move forward when everything is subjective, because now you can say, well, this is how we should go forward. And this other person can say, for example, well, I feel that's racist.
Yeah. That's a big one.
And so now what do you do? Because now you can't continue going down that road, because that person is already showed that they're about to weaponize a title against you if you move a certain hand. So it's all manipulation, and that's all it fuels. It fuels mass manipulation.
Stay there. I want to stay there. I want to this not playing, but stay here. When you think about the word racism, for Black people, if there's one word that we have used over and over again that has held us back, that's one of them. And if you want to think about, and don't get me wrong, quote me right, there are racist people out. There's a lot of racist things that go on, and the things that have been done in the past are not right. But if there's one thing I believe in doing for self, brother, I believe in the world, that this world is yours. The things you can obtain anything you put your mind to. But when you give so much power to a word and to people, you will use any chance that you get for that word to be the reason why you didn't get what you were supposed to get or do what you're supposed to do. So now you're on your couch, or you in your group chat, or you calling somebody a racist because this didn't happen and that didn't happen, instead of just going to make it happen. Even want to talk about the election. We want to talk about side to side. One of the things that was big in the election, they were more so trying to make Trump racist, the Republicans racist. And then you have then we come back and the Democrats are saying, calling them racist. And so it felt as if a shift was coming, as if people weren't going to vote for Trump. And then you see at the end, you see a form of red all on the flag. So then you got to look back like, so what's going, you get what I'm saying? So I think we have a lot of people that, again, emotional, and emotion causes you to use words like that, because emotional is like what's the word I'm looking for? You want reaction. When you use emotion, you use words that get people, and things like that get attention, and which gets people eyes. And then when it's time to do what you're supposed to do, as like the ground on the work, on the boots on the ground, as like going to vote, what happens? It runs out. So, and again, even with that term, when you have people that are using a word like that for just to give context, if you're supposed to be doing something, but you're like, oh, I this didn't happen because they didn't give it to you, instead of taking them extra steps to make it happen, you stop yourself when you're using words like that.
Yeah.
And so I had to, you know what I mean? So that word amongst others, are things that hold me back. I don't know if you'll get to a point, but I had to say that.
Yeah, no, it's just it fuels a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you allow your emotions to take control, now you have an obligation to yourself to make sure that your emotions are justified. So even if in the case it comes out that, let's just keep this example going, that the person isn't racist, you now have to nitpick and find a way that yes they are, because that's how you feel, and I have to validate that's how I feel, because when I validate well enough how I feel, that's how I have control and power of the situation. So that's what you witness. You witness people constantly posturing and power playing their emotions, because they understand that we've created a society where it's rewarded and it pays off just to complain loud enough. Yeah. And so that's why too, when it comes down to the poll, and why I'm a little bit against just the messaging, just go vote, because again, everything, words have meaning, power. So when you just say just go vote, and again, in the back of that person's head, they're going there to validate how they feel, about the election or the polls. And now this is literally where the buck stops for them or for that person. Because while I feel how I feel, now the only thing I do is cast my vote, and that's it. And that those emotions aren't going to carry that person through if their chosen team or side doesn't win. And that's why immediately afterwards, you have people that say, well, I'm just leaving, or I give up, or it's doom and gloom, because their logical processes haven't been worked enough in this situation where they were able to take their logic to its full completion. Is I started thinking logically, but then my emotions took stranglehold. Yeah. And so that's why I'm operating out of.
Yeah, you have to think past what you feel. You have to think past what you feel. You have the right to your feelings, but your feelings don't make you right. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So in the situation, we create a narrative to where a person can feel just because they feel the way with no logic. It could be 2 + 2 and they say 6. Mm-hmm. And if they think 6, they're going to think it no matter what, because we've created a narrative, a society that has allowed people to get on. And this wasn't even talking, even going back to the election, but that's just a big example of to what we're talking about at one of the highest magnitudes, because again, we had side to side, really Bloods and Crips going on, and people really gangbanging in a sense against each other when we're supposed to be one. But again, when it goes back to logic, I think that logic clears everything up. And I want to go back to logical thinkers. When you think about logic, all right, so who are, and because I think sometimes people need examples. When you think about logic, what you about to say?
Yeah, because I can't. That's also what I laughing. When you brought up the racist thing, so literally, you got to think the election just happened. As adults, we're dealing with, we see the logic and the emotions of what just took place. I just had a conversation with my 7-year-old son out of nowhere. He was like, "Dad, is Trump racist?" So I was like, "No, like, I mean, what has he done to be racist?" So again, I'm speaking to my son. "Dad, are you serious? Trump isn't racist to you?" I said, "No, he's not racist." And he looked at me and said, "You're racist." So we still talking about logic and emotions. So, and you just said when their emotions aren't met, since I didn't give into what he was saying, his logic just stopped. Now he don't want to talk about it. That's society. Yeah. The moment that it doesn't make sense to them anymore, everybody just stopped. Yeah. And even though, I mean, even with, so no, it wasn't planned, but even though, even looking at it on that small scale, talking to my 7-year-old son, how many adults think on that same way? Since I'm not hurting, I'm gonna shut down. Since what the idea that I have, or the plan that I want to present to the school board or to the team or to whatever, and it's not my thought, my logic that I thought to myself didn't it made sense to me, but clearly it doesn't make sense to everybody else. Since you guys don't solve me, and since it doesn't make sense, I'm just gonna shut down, and I'm not gonna get us to. I don't want to be a part of nothing else, because my emotion, I feel like I put all my thought and energy into this for you not to hear me, for you not to side with me. Now I'm done. That's society. Yeah. That's what we up against.
I wonder when does logic kick in though? You know what I mean? For emotional thinker or for emotional person, is there every point does logic kick in?
I say
Usually if enough evidence is put in front, well, that's the hope.
yeah.
The hope is if you put enough information in front of them, then it'll be enough to jostle them. But with social media and stuff, it's almost impossible. That's why I don't get in online debates, because you're not changing anyone's mind through a screen. First of all, it's hard enough to do it in person. And so if you add in the element of talking in between stuff, and now you have people that's on the outside looking into the conversation that's being displayed, and now you have someone, getting a like, even though they're completely wrong on something, that's just going to empower that person to keep on going. So it's like, it's no point. But I mean, yeah, it's logical failures all over the place. I mean, we had a county-wide election right before this presidential election, and you had sub 25% show up and vote. But then for the presidential election, you had closer to 80% of people come and vote. Well, you can't say voting matters all the time is the most patriotic thing you can do if we ain't even hit 25% right before the presidential election. So someone got to be lying.
Yeah.
It's not that important, or you don't see that big of a patriotic duty if the numbers, like, that's a huge skew in percentages. If it's a little bit off, okay. But sub 25 to now pushing 80%, that's a crazy discrepancy. And one deals with the very nature of where you live at. Yeah. So before anything happened, I mean, like, look, the national elections happen. You have to wait until January, to even start to turn over the new administration. Now you got to give time for that person to get in and start operating. The first year and a half, 2 years he's in presidency is going to be redoing or overturning stuff that was set before. So look how long, right? You wait 4 years to vote for the presidential election. Now it's going to take a year and a half, 2 years before you actually start to see their policies come into effect. But in that time period, you've ignored so many local elections, so many things that dictate your schools, the roads, the quality of the schools, the quality of your immediate healthcare in your area, job opportunities, all these things you just put on the back burner. For what? Yeah. You can do both.
Yeah. No. So you guys know I'm pretty black and white. I think everything like logical. People have asked me, said, so you think you don't have, I have emotions. I just know when to put them aside. I really operate mostly, and again, I have feelings. I just shut my feelings down a lot. And somebody might say that's not healthy, okay? But for me to operate how I am, I'm a very black and white logical person. Simon Sinek, I was listening to something he was saying, and he was saying that leaders, basically saying leaders should lead with emotion. You get what I'm saying? Like both. He was trying to say you should simultaneously use emotions and logic. I don't too much agree with that. I think anytime where you leave room for emotions, you leave room for mixed communication, mixed signals, mixed everything. Again, because what emotion allows you to say is one day you could come in feeling one way and the next day it can be something totally different. I think anytime you're making decisions, that can be very dangerous. Again, logic allows you to say 2 + 2 is 4 today and 2 + 2 is 4 tomorrow. When you guys think about emotions and leading with emotion, do you think you can operate in both with being a leader?
To some degree, because at the end of the day, you have to be able, the people that you lead, just because we feel like we don't, it's better to lead with not having those emotions. Sometimes people can read that, you know what I'm saying? And the people that you're leading, I always heard, even when I was in Tallahassee, people don't leave jobs, people leave managers. And as a leader, you have to show some kind of emotion, and when I say emotion, not the emotion where today the wind is blowing left, or today the wind is hot, or today it's raining, I don't want to be here today, or today it's sunny and now I'm all, I want to be a manager. Nah, you just gotta, I feel like it has to, I say yes, because it has to be a balance to it. You have to be logical in being a leader no matter what, you feel me? Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, there are going to be those days, those moments where the people that you are leading, they're going to have those moments where they may be seeking some kind of emotional support, if you will, from their leader, if they're following you, if that makes sense. So that's why I say you give or take. I feel like you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say you have to find a balance. The emotions get you the surface level information for what's going on. So say you have someone coming to you crying, right? Obviously, something had to have hurt that person to evoke that level of emotional response that's bringing them to tears. So as a leader, I'm not going to come to them leading with logic first, because from my point of view, from this perspective, being a leader, I have a subordinate crying. I can't come to them with logic because that's not the emotion, that's not the way in which they're operating out of. So I have to at least start off in the emotional sense, the emotional intelligence to say, okay, why is this person crying? What's going on? Then I can use the logic to fix what's causing her to cry or them to cry. So I have to tap into the emotional spectrum to some degree to even understand why they're crying at work, and not just, well, shutting it off before they're walking in, because people aren't computers. So it's never going to be a perfect binary with them where it's like, well, I'm at work, so whatever traumatic thing that caused them to cry, it just ceases to exist in their mind. That's not humanly possible, because I mean that's still going to be there. And so I'm going from my military experience as well, something that's a very high stress job, high intense job. You have people that would literally, I've seen it, some be bothering them at work, they legitimately break down and start crying. But I can promise you another thing, that person's hand and feet still gonna be moving. Like, they're still gonna be working towards something. Now, me as a leader, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, hey, knock off that crying. They're doing everything I need them to do, despite the emotional distress they may be in. Now, I could do that, but what's going to benefit me better as a leader, as a supervisor? If I just ignore it and be like, well, he's just working, say, hey, man, you know what? Despite you clearly being upset, you still putting forth the effort here, man. I appreciate that. What's going on, though? Is there anything I can do to help you out with blah, blah, blah? Now you're creating that bond. So now that person understands, look, maybe for him, he may have been trying to hold it in the whole time, but now something happened, the straw broke the camel back. Now he can't hold it in, he's crying at work. So now that creates a better sense of, okay, I can rely on this person as my supervisor if I am going through something. They actually do care. So now in the future, the first day he started to feel something, hey, boss, can I talk to you?
Yeah.
What's going on? Hey, man, so now we can reduce the amount of time we have to stay in the emotional realm, because now he coming to me sooner. So now we can jump straight into the logic. So that's how I look at it. And then even biblically, it says when one member has joy, you should have joy as well. When one member cries, you should cry as well. And that just goes into that empathy part. It doesn't say the dissect all this other stuff. If you're a team, you're a team, or leader subordinate, because whatever is bothering them, to some degree, it should bother you too as a leader, because you care about those people. They're under your care. When you're a leader, everything is about the people that serve you, that work underneath you, that are looking to you for guidance or that direction. So everything's about that person. It's very little about you yourself once you get that level up or that promotion. And that's one thing too, I applaud the military for. It's not always perfect, but I will say most times when someone's going to go get their stripes, to go become an NCO, that is always, again, from my experience, that is always pressed. When you put these stripes on, understand, no one's saying you can't push higher in your career, but it is literally your men. Your men coming first. So if that dude in there crying or he got something going on, you got to go figure that out. Otherwise, that person is not going to be productive to you or to the mission. And that's ultimately what we all answer to. But it's, how do you get that? How do you get the outcome that we all looking for?
Yeah, now it's funny. So I definitely asked my question in the wrong way. But as you guys both of you were saying what you were saying, it made me think back to my collegiate experience. So I had a head coach that was what they call is a player's coach. As far as a player coach, he would do whatever for his players. That was my first coach. So I understood a coach that would come in and say, if you in the office too late, he'd tell you, man, get up out of here, man. You got a light. You know what I mean? I know you're doing your stuff, but go take care of yourself. Go, whatever. And then I turned around and had a coach that would really grill you. If he didn't see you in the film room at 8 p.m. at night, he would grill you and tell you, you ain't worth nothing. And then he would even walk in the hallways and not talk to you. So the same thing you talk about, yes, leading, you have to lead, you have to have emotion, you have to have empathy for the people you're leading. There's a lot that comes with that. So you're totally right, both of you guys. I said it wrong. What I meant was when making decisions. When making decisions, are emotions involved? Should emotions be involved? So not just in the general. So I'm just saying from a decision-making point, when it's time to make that decision, do you all, and I get what y'all just said, and you're totally right. I agree with that. But I want to know from the decision base, when it's time to say this is the route we're going on, or do emotions have their place in decisions?
Nah, I mean, absolutely not. I mean, especially when it's time to be logical in those decision-making moments. We just had a conversation last night with the boys, and that was, it dealt with focus. So in the moment that you're making a decision, all right, it's time to focus. We got to figure this out. But we're speaking with the boys, and you're like, why? If you're making a decision based off your emotion, you probably never. And I experienced that myself. You know what I'm saying? So you have to calm yourself down and bring yourself to that point, that level-headed person that you are, to make that logical decision. Because if not, then you're gonna make a decision based off how you feel in that moment. So bring with Q. All right, he asked that question, and by my feelings for my son, I don't want to disappoint my son, and I know exactly what he wanted me to say. However, if I would have said yes, he's racist, that wasn't a logical answer. I didn't give him validity behind it. So now I'm basically messing him up for future, purposes. I have to be logical in that moment and stand firm and say, no, he's not racist. Now, when he's ready to come back and say, well, Dad, why did you say that? Then I'll explain that to him. So, and I hope I'm giving you, the example makes sense of what I'm saying. You have to be able to be logical and clear-minded whenever you can't be in your emotions.
Yeah, I think it's more so a balance. Speaking from experience, I've made decisions purely off logic. And at the end of the day, once it didn't go a certain way, right? Because just because you operate out logic doesn't guarantee a success or anything for that matter, because it's more complex than that all the time. But there's times where I made a decision purely off the logic in which I had in that instance. And after the fact, I'm like, I knew I had a bad feeling about that. So with that being a reality that I know I've lived more than once, I can't sit here and say that there has no realm of emotions into the decision-making process. However, I will say it's more so not about a raw feeling of emotion, but a complex understanding of why you feel based on that decision. Because now if you're saying, well, I'm about to make a decision and it doesn't sit right with me, well, why doesn't it?
Isn't that logic though? Aren't you tapping into logic?
But you have to acknowledge your emotion first, is what I'm saying. If you just omit the emotion, you're just gonna go straight to it. You're not gonna think about it. Like I just said, there's times where I've sat there, made a decision purely off the logic I had in the instance, and was like, well, I'm just gonna shoot and just do this. Then after the fact, I'm like, but I knew I kind of had a bad feeling about it. So that's what I'm saying. It's the awareness of an emotion. It's not that you still using logic at the end of the day to come to, but you have to be aware of why that emotion is there.
Now, I think that's logic. So to me, what you're saying, that's logic. Because at the end of the day, we're emotionally human beings, like just naturally, what we are, humans are emotionally driven. So to say that the emotion doesn't come is you'll be lying. The logic is what triumphs the emotion. We felt it. Obviously, you felt it, because if somebody come in here and say something, you feel whatever you feel first, but how you react, you can choose to react out of logic and emotion. You can follow the feeling that you felt, or you can sit and say, decipher what it is. So to the fact what you said, I would take that and say that's a logic make the decision. I see how you breaking it down and meshing the two, but I still, at the end of the day, I believe that's logic. But I do think for a general sense, man, I think more people should take time, man, to think what makes. I was even looking into the brains. It was something talking about the limbic brain. I guess how your brain broken up. Don't quote me on this now. Like the limbic brain. It's like your brain, the side of your brain that's with your emotions and your behavior is one side, and then your language is a whole nother side. So it's different sides of your brain. So you get what I'm saying? So the way you react and respond, that's why like when somebody like feels something, they maybe start stuttering or something, because they got to go to another side of your brain to start putting this stuff together. And when you really think of things to that point, it makes sense, because now you have to, I think, logically, all of these, whatever go up on, it has to be up on the one beat and be able to be together to be able to make these perfect decisions. But I do think we need to make it more of a priority, even at a young age, to be able to set kids up for success to more talking about logic. I think it's, again, the world that we live in is emotionally driven. We're being able to tell people from a young age that their voice matters and they should be able to talk. And again, I think even when we were kids, going back, and being able to talk, being told to be quiet, when you told to be quiet, just be quiet. And now we live in a day that's something you would, people argue with you about, saying your kids should have a voice and all these different things. And I do think there's a, but when you open the door for anything, again, people they start taking more steps than they should. And I think that's what we've done. We open a peephole or something, and the water pressure has busted wider than it should have. So now we live in an emotionally driven world. And now we're at the point now, man, to whoever watching, man, you have to change the tide. Right now, coming off, this concept or topic we'll be talking about is coming off the election, man. We had a lot of emotions going high, but now it's time to really sit into whatever you felt and whoever you voted for. And now it's like, what now? What are we going to do now? What route are we going to do? The person, even if the person that I voted for and the person that I didn't vote for didn't get in, or that I didn't vote for got in. Whatever side of the spectrum you're on, what are you going to do now? Okay, it's time to sit in and really be able to assess your situation and be able to move forward with logic. I think so. Again, the emotion probably got you here, but now we have to make a logical decision, okay, of how we're going to move forward to be able to make ourselves the best. So make ourselves, our family, our community the best. So again, we need to tap more so on that logic. So when we're thinking about logic, fellas, is there any way you can advice you want to give when it comes to making a more logical decision that can help people when they come down to that decision time?
It's just for me, I make it, or I'm gonna make it seem as simple as I can, but I know it's still, because you gotta think. What I mean? That's stop and think. That's all I can say. But it's steps 1, 2, 3, or you give yourself your own scenarios of how this could play out. But don't just give yourself good scenarios. Give yourself the worst case scenarios as well. And then I think that helps, because now I'm driven off emotions of like, okay, well, if it goes this way, this is how I'm looking at it. But if it goes this way, this is how it's going to be as well. At the end of the day, I have to think logically on which one makes more. And I think that's what back to your point. I think I'm making a logic decision based off what I feel, but what is best for, not just for me, but for the ones that I lead, or the family, or my kids, whatever the case may be. So it's really just stopping and thinking. And I think, again, we touched on that last night with the boys. Sometimes with what they do, bro, they don't think. They feel how they feel and they just say it, or they feel how they feel and they just go. So then whatever the end result is after you say or do, you stuck with it. You know what I'm saying? So I think tell them to slow down, think about it first, then make a decision. So, Brother Mouse.
Yeah, if you have trouble with doing that, I would say it may sound silly, but it's a little practical exercise until you can just start doing it mentally. But make a line graph, just like a timeline, just starting with the choice that you want to make or you feel like you should make, and then just make little ticks all the way to the outcome that you seeking to have. And like Eddie said, look at every possibility, every branching pathway based off that first decision and every subsequent decision made, and just see where you end up at. Like, really just take the time and explore your thoughts and your plans, so that you're taking your logic to its conclusion. That's what a lot of people, they fail at. A lot of people, they only take it halfway. So take it all the way through, analyze it, and see what's the best course of action.
Yeah, I like it. And I'm gonna say this, man. You have a right to your feelings, but your feelings don't make you right. All right. So I'm gonna say it again. You have a right to your feelings, but your feelings don't make you right. All right. Sometimes you got to push past that feeling to get on to the other side, to logic, to what may be the best decision for you. So again, when it comes to decision making, that urge, that thing you feel, sometimes you may pause, as they just said, pause before reacting on that, just to move past a little bit, get a little more information before making the decision. I think if we can get a whole bunch of people doing that, man, our world will be in a better place. But what I need you to do right now, all right, if you will, I need you to react to what I'm saying by clicking that button, that like, subscribe button. This can be an emotional response, all right? I'm trying to invoke motion into you to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. But again, this conversation, man, is vitally important. I don't want you guys to dismiss what we're saying. I wholeheartedly, this is just me speaking. This is Jamie Gilmore speaking. I wholeheartedly think that our world that we're getting so out of hand. Just, you know, and this is just me scrolling through my social media feed and seeing what people are saying or why they voting for different people or people, and even people making political candidates and people, they idolizing these people as if people are going to come save your life or they're going to come change your situation. We said it on here before and I'm going to say it again. These people are not coming to save you. There's no president of the United States going to come to where you live and make your home a better place. The only person that can do that is you. If you think that Donald Trump or anybody in his camp is going to change your situation, or even Kamala Harris, if you think she was going to change your situation, that was not going to happen. You have to wake up every day with the desire to change your situation. You have to wake up to the desire to change what you see in your community. If you don't do it, nobody else will. And until we have a whole bunch of people operating in that and with that mindset, things are going to stay the same. Things have been the same for so many years because we keep doing the same things. We keep waiting till elections to vote people in and then sit on our behinds and wait for something to happen, and it's never going to happen. Again, prices of food is going to go up. Your milk bill, the bread, all that's going to go up. That's going to happen. That happens over time. That's just what things do. If you're going to sit on your behind and thinking that the prices of things going to come down just because somebody got elected, then that's crazy. You got to be able to get up and make a decision and change your life, and it won't change until then. And I think you can get closer to your life changing by using a little logic and less emotion, all right? You do have place for your emotions, just like I said. You have a right to your feelings, but again, it don't make you right, all right? Y'all got anything else before we spin off, fellas? All right, man. Hey, like, subscribe, comment, family. We'll see y'all next time.